Joining me now, Master Tax Attorney Ronson Shamoun. Ronson, let's start with the taxes being dealt with in 2015, the increases across the board, all of them are, that do pertain to Obamacare. All these people who signed up with Obamacare through the exchange, the vast majority are receiving subsidies. Now, if your income happens to have changed between the time you signed up, and that is increased, between the time you sign up and receiving the subsidy, you could be in big trouble tax-wise.
Yeah, you can. I mean, they've reported their income and they've got the subsidy, and unless somebody's out there watching them and closely holding them accountable, nobody's going to really tell the government that they're not entitled to it anymore. And
basically what would happen here is if your income went up, right, you might not be eligible for the subsidy anymore. So you have to run the numbers?
Yes. I mean, there's a threshold with your minimum filing requirement or if what your household income is. So yes, as your income goes up, if you're, let's say you got a little part-time job trying to survive, and then ultimately you get your full-time job because that was your little holdover job. In that case, most of these individuals are just keeping the coverage up until somebody finds out.
So would you then be liable to pay back that subsidy plus a fine? How does it work?
I haven't seen a case where somebody's been caught and a fine's been dropped down, but I'm sure the government will come up with something to where they'll punish them.
Okay, speaking of fine, the fine also goes up if you happen to not have insurance and buck the Obamacare edict. What's that at right now?
Right now it's at $325, I think, either $325 or $365. It went up from $95 last year, so now it's more substantial than before.
And is there any other penalty to this? It could also be 1% of your salary if you happen to make more than that threshold?
It goes up from $325. It's on a per-person basis on the individual side. Where it gets really pricey is on the employer side. That's when it gets expensive.
And how bad is it there?
It could be up to $2,000 per employee.
Okay, so speaking of employers, we also have this Medicare tax, which is increasing because of Obamacare. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it went up from 1.45 to 2.35% because of Obamacare. And additionally, they charged a 3.8% net investment tax. So now if you have investment income or income from an S Corp, then that's another 3.8% for individuals who make more than $250,000.
And one of the problems is that Medicare is becoming insolvent. We all know this. The actuaries are telling us over and over again that Medicare is headed for a brick wall. And so this money, I suppose, is supposed to shore it up, at least for the time being?
Yeah, I think it's probably a temporary Band-Aid. I mean, it's a substantial increase. I mean, 1.45 to 2.35% is almost a 50% increase, or about 40%. So it's a substantial increase.
Okay, so now we have the death tax. During the Obama administration, I think at one point the death tax was at 0, but now what are the numbers that we're looking at?
It was at 0 for 1 year. If you died in 2010, that was like the year to die because there was no estate tax. And there are some people who just would let their families go during that year if they had a lot of money. But right now it's at 40%, in excess of $5.35 million per individual. And so 40% is quite substantial.
To me, I don't know how you view it as a tax attorney, but me, the death tax is probably the most insidious of all the taxes. I hate all taxes on a personal level, but it's pure redistribution of wealth.
I agree with you 100%. I feel very strongly like you do about the estate tax. I mean, you work so hard in your life. You're trying to provide for your future. You're trying to provide for your children. You work, you make these, you get a company, you start some legacy, and then when you die, you got to pay almost half of it back to the government. It doesn't give you the incentive to want to work hard and acquire a lot of wealth. And only recently did they raise it to $5 million. I mean, before it was a lot less. And so it's still not that great, but it does not, It punishes you for just working hard.
And, it doesn't take much to hit that threshold. I mean, if you live in California and you have a decent size house and maybe you have a business, you're going to hit that threshold pretty easily.
Yeah, you definitely can.
Okay, so there was this thing called I want to get it right, the American Taxpayer Relief Act, which is now responsible for raising the tax on dividends.
Yes, dividends went up tremendously. It's almost about 39 some odd percent. It's gone up tremendously. The American Tax Relief Act raised the top tax rate for high income individuals to 39.6%. And so there were a lot of other tax increases in addition to the dividend increase.
And they call this tax relief. I love the names of the bills that come out of Washington, D.C. The tax relief bill, yet it increases. And we also have an increase in the capital gains tax. And this is important to a lot of Americans, not just Mitt Romney, but, for example, day traders. I mean, this is going to affect them greatly.
Yes. And I mean, that's money that's already been taxed. I mean, capital gains, usually you work for you work a job, you make income, and then you put it in the stock market to raise some money, make some money on your money. And then now you sell those stocks, and then you get another tax. And that went up on the long term from 15 to 20, but short term is at your ordinary rate. So that was a substantial increase, close to 35%.
So overall, what are you advising your clients right now? Be careful, better consult with an expert?
Yeah, I mean, definitely get help from a tax attorney or really a qualified CPA. Don't never get your taxes done by an individual that's not a certified public accountant. You want somebody who knows the tax laws, knows what to do, puts a financial picture for you, and helps you minimize some of your taxes when you can.
Have you ever seen tax laws go away, or does this volume just keep growing?
It keeps growing. I mean, every single day, every other month, there's always some legislation that comes down, some modification. It's continuing to get more convoluted, more convoluted. People are just scrambling to try to figure out what's going on.
It's ridiculous, but it keeps you in business. That's
yes,
for
it
sure.
does.
Ronson, thank you.
Thank you so much.